Herschler. And we on, baby. Live from the dirt-flavored slushy that is Spokane right now. How you doing today, Mr. Nobe?
I'm doing quite well.
Yeah? What's going on with you, man?
We got my tax return back, so I did a little bit of shopping. Did spider practice, got some flyers done up. Like, things are going well.
Spiders are alive and well. Like,
They are.
coming in harder than ever, huh?
Yeah, maybe not harder than ever, but we're going to be right at that level. That's for sure.
Hell yeah, man. All right, so it's middle of February. Everyone's got this Olympic fever, the Sochiness. How are you doing with that, sir?
I avoid it. But I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where I actually just watched a video, this really cool documentary on Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan and just the
30 for 30?
I think it was 30 for 30. I'm not sure. It might have been. It was on Netflix, and I was bored, so I watched it with my girl. And it was really kind of crazy, and that was the only thing that really got me in the Olympic spirit. It was just like that kind of crazy shit will happen. But, I mean, beyond that, I think that the Olympics are pretty fucking awesome. But
yeah, just hasn't been you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was one of those things where I wasn't resisting, but the way, you've got your job and all that stuff. And then one night I sat down, I just had the time, and it's on, and you go, dude, women's luge is the coolest thing ever. Like, these chicks are just rockets going through these icy canals. They hit the wall and they're done.
Right.
Like, it's a giant crash fest. But I don't know. I think the Sochi Olympics are especially interesting. People have kind of been making, you can call them jabs or just observations on it, in which this is the closest thing in my lifetime I've seen to almost a third world Olympics. I mean, they put $51 billion into this whole thing.
Is that all the money Russia had?
Might be. They got a lot of loans.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you just see the state of the people there, and like, I mean, generally you hear a lot of complaints. But it's just, I don't know. After the space race, man, I don't know how much dough they got left in their bank account.
Right. And I mean, and it's one of those countries where they've had so much crazy stuff happen that you're a little bit sympathetic. But also something I've been thinking about with myself is, do you think as Americans, just because the history we have, even though especially us, we weren't really alive for any of it, maybe the end of the Cold War, where they're knocking down the wall. You think we just kind of have a natural bias against Russia?
No, I think, and I don't have a bias against Russia. I, feel deeply for their people. What was it? Kasparov, the guy that played, the Grandmaster at chess.
Right.
He said something about the idea that everybody's talking about the security issues as you get into Russia in terms of your phones being hacked, your laptops being hacked, you're being surveyed. That, people are talking about that so much, about these people that are coming in country and the horrible atrocities they're facing in terms of their personal information. But it's like, man, do you understand the lack of freedom of speech that's happening there, the lack of democracy there. And that's, that's really the bigger issue. But I guess, we can only talk about how little people have control over their country in Russia for so long. And then you start playing Battlefield 4 or something, It's like, it's crazy though. I mean, to be a superpower and
that much poverty.
Right. With North Korea, it's like they have a huge standing army, probably the third biggest in the world, I would assume. And to be that impoverished.
Right. I feel I'm maybe getting a bad idea of how it is in Russia, because I've seen little clips, stuff on Vice and all that about life in Moscow. It seems super, metropolis and all that stuff. But with Sochi, that's where you kind of get this third world vibe. And I mean, I wonder, which one is more the majority, or if it's one of those senses with China where it's like, yeah, Hong Kong, it's cracking, but you go out to the farms and stuff
it's
like that.
And the ruralness there is you think about people that own farm in, Washington, for instance, and the idea that those are anything close to similar things is just not at all in anybody's mind, or it shouldn't be at least. farming in China is is different. It's the idea that almost farming. It's almost like parts of that country are still like 200, 300 years ago, where that you farm because you have to live and you need food, not to like sell it out and stuff. It's a weird place.
Well, I mean, and in China's sense, part of it has to do with the fact that the government is pushing so hard for the economic booms. We're getting into business and all this stuff. They're not giving any support to the farmers because they're saying, get the hell out. Like,
Yeah.
we're getting with the major city thing.
It's funny to me because like China ain't big enough. Like I can't chill here on my farm. Like,
right, exactly. Sorry, I actually wanted some space. I liked having an acre of land.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think the thing that frustrates me the most is I feel through watching it, I'm not learning much about Russia. I'm not learning how it actually is there. The one thing about it, though, is Putin has been pimping on this whole thing. Like, going into it, someone who's watching it, going into it, it's like, hey, like the gay rights atrocities they have over there, all the little instances where it's like, all right, you don't want me as prime minister anymore? Well, I'll be president. But my buddy's prime minister. All right, I want prime minister back. All this stuff. And then you just see him at these games, and he is just playing it so G. Going to lesbian speed skaters and making sure the cameras are there when he cuddles her and is like, good job, stuff like that. Yeah. Showing this whole side opposite to what he's actually doing. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty shiesty, right?
He's kissing babies like a motherfucker, man.
Babies that apparently just bit reporters.
Right.
No, it's crazy to me, the reversal. Jon Stewart had a great thing on Daily Show. There was something to the effect where he's like, Putin was like, gay people are okay, just don't talk to our kids. And it was like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like,
that's what it is. Like, I feel like that kind of sums up this guy's whole policy with everything. Is it's like, no, it's okay because everyone else is okay with it, and I'll be ostracized for not being okay with it. But seriously, I'm a bigot.
See, the thing with like dudes like Putin is like, they did so well before we had the internet. They got away with so much shit. Now it's like you got the scrutiny of the world on you, dude. Like you have to high five a gay dude just to, so it's crazy. Like trying to do the damage control on that. He doesn't have to do that within his country, but for the world, we're like, dude, you got to tone down. You can't like arrest or, if we have a gay loser, you can't arrest him, dude. Like,
exactly.
And it's one of those things where people develop at different speeds and countries develop at different speeds. And so you have to, I think there's a part of it where it's like, yeah, there's no switch that's going to be flipped after the collapse of the Soviet Union, like coming into, new century Russia. It's crazy. And I hope they can make the changes that are necessary to kind of join the conversation with the globe.
Well, I mean, they drained themselves going through the space race and all the issues with the USSR. They drained themselves of so much money.
Right.
And they put it all into industries and stuff that really had no practical use once they got out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, how are you going to build back your economy?
Right.
Where are you going with this? That, and you have all these people that were a generation born or a generation dealing with, you're living off of government handouts.
Yep.
So that it's a culture you have to build. It's starting from ground zero.
Yeah, and that's one of those things is like I can understand people build in their minds bias. Like everybody, if you're not a Chicago fan, Chicago football players are dickheads or whatever. However people try to equate like a country or a government is the people. It's like not true.
Shitty generalizations.
Right? Well, it's like I really, I've met Russian people that I didn't like. I've met Americans I didn't like. I've met Japanese cats I didn't like. It's you're going to find dicks. You're going to find a lot of people get so jaded by their first encounter with somebody. And I understand that, the first impression leaves the biggest mark or whatever, but it's goddamn, like, chill out for a second. I hate that. And the worst thing is that the person that speaks for their country is such a fucking tyrant,
Yeah. And it's sad that those are the guys that rush to, or like usually get to positions of power because they are such alpha people, so confident that it's just like, get the fuck out of my way. I'm running this shit. And those are usually the people that get in those positions. Other stuff with Sochi, you said you haven't been watching a bit. This is the 30 for 30 I want to see. 30 for 30 Bob Costas' eye. Have you heard about this?
Uh-uh.
Okay. They're saying it's an eye infection, but I want to know the real story, what's going behind it. Basically, the Olympics started, and you look at Bob Costas, and he's looking normal, except his right eye is like a little red and a little squinty.
Yeah, okay.
And each day it's getting worse till he's got this like devil eye. And the other one's normal. And he's still going and presenting. And they're saying, oh, it's an eye infection. Motherfucker, that shit's pink eye. Yeah, Bob Costas up there with his like gnarly pink eye to the point where it's got both eyes. Both eyes are going, and he's just looking fucked up. Like he does not want to be there. He's talking about it, and they're like, oh, it's an eye infection that's going on. Like, Bob Costas, did you have your head in a stripper's ass? Like, what are you doing in Russia, Bob Costas? Did you wash your face with the nasty Sochi water? Like I want to know the story behind this. I won't think less of Bob Costas because Bob Costas has done some great reporter work. The whole thing he did with Penn State, all that. And, I mean, shit, look at the stuff in the past with Marv Albert with Chicks in Leather and all that stuff. Like, I would not be surprised, newscaster, if, you know, you had your head in a stripper's ass.
You know, I don't know. I had pink eye once, and I wasn't putting my head nowhere. You know, I wasn't like squinting real close to a butthole or nothing. Like, it was, you know, I don't know how.
Generalizing again. Yeah. I could be.
And it's a very communicable disease, and the close proximity everybody is in. You know, I can understand. It sucks for Bob because he's got to be on camera all day. And I wish they could just put some like stunner shades on him or something.
Right.
So he can do his interviews.
But I mean, I still give him props where it's like, all right, we're rolling with it.
Right.
Like, we're going. Like,
I got fired for my pink eye, but I was making pizzas. Bob Costas, I guess, is in a different position.
Technically, he doesn't have to touch people. He can just sit in his chair and, you know, do the commentary. And if he interviews someone, make sure he's 5 feet away from them.
The guy that has to grab the mic after the interview uses one of those little shark grabber things. Like, like clip, clip.
All right, everyone, make sure you have wet naps on hand. Last thing we need is an NBC infection spreading around everywhere.
NBC does sound like an STD to me.
A little bit, right?
Yo, I got that NBC, man. I got to go home.
And Curry gave it to me. And I didn't mind.
I got the KHQ. Oh, no.
Other crazy thing about this, and this is something I was talking to a friend about. So, you have over 2,800 athletes in the village, right? Big thing that they learned from London, how they learned it, I don't know. For this village, one of the biggest supplies they had to set up is over 100,000 condoms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I was thinking about it, and I don't know if the condoms, like, obviously, because who knows who's got what, but all that stuff. But, I mean, it makes a lot of sense because you just won a gold medal doing speed skating.
Right.
She just won a gold medal sitting there doing women's slope style. Y'all feeling like $1 million. You're going to drink a little bit of amazing vodka and to have some gold medal loving. Like, after when those people are partying after it, dude.
Oh, well, can you imagine a better group of people to be procreating?
That's what I'm saying too.
Right? Like,
I mean, this is an opportunity for us to, like, you know, start rocking that gene pool.
I can run 30 miles an hour and you can jump 15 feet in the air. Let's have children.
Exactly.
I mean, it kind of gets like on the eugenics side of shit, but no, I mean, it's cool too. I mean, hopefully it's a lot of countries mingling around, man. We're going to make some beautiful, strong, quick people, and that's scary. But
no, like, that's the study right now. Like, I think a lot of these media services and stuff need to go is, all right, go to the London Olympic Games. See, you got knocked up. Like, these kids.
Yeah,
what are they coming from? Like, I was looking, I should have read into it more, but I was reading something about Blake Griffin. I don't even know if he's dating the chick, but Blake Griffin, NBA player, he went and got this pro volleyball chick pregnant and all that stuff. And the way they described it in the article was it sounded kind of arranged. Like, I don't know. It had this
like,
weird,
were they in a hospital?
Like they studied him out, sort of thing. I don't know. I got that vibe from it. But at the same time, it's like, this kid's probably gonna have an 60-inch vertical,
right?
You know, be 7'2". And I mean, they've done this before. Yao Ming, Chinese basketball player. He was third or fourth generation of selective breeding to get him to,
that height.
Yeah, to be this 7-foot basketball player. But people, the other thing, we learn it with dogs, that happens when you do the selective breeding.
They ain't the quickest.
And you give a Yao Ming a high five and he breaks his wrist.
Yeah, no, his bones ain't right. And that's, that's the thing. That's why we don't do that with humans, we kind of do, but we do it on our own terms. When you got fucking Dr. Nick walking in and like telling you got to bang this lady because she's got biceps bigger than fucking melons. Like,
Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Get at it.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure that's not the way you're supposed to do it. I've got an inkling.
No, I don't promote it just because, like you said, it gets to that slippery slope of eugenics, but I'm interested to see the results because they got to be out there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they are. We should do some deep reporting.
Exactly, because that's what me and Nobe do: investigative reporting.
Breaking news: Sam just found out that Yao Ming's baby has an extra leg.
Here I am in the delivery room with Yao Ming's wife. Come on, push. You've got it. You've got it.
That third leg's being a real bitch, ain't it, Sam? That's crazy. It's craziness, man. I can't believe. Exactly what you're saying is like, hey, man, I won a gold medal. I'm fucking in the best shape of my life, probably. I'm hanging out with people that are in the best shape of their lives. We're all, the community, the global community's coming together. Let's have a party.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because how many times after shows have you gotten done, you killed that show, and it's like, dude, we're going to 6 a.m. I'm on such an adrenaline euphoric high.
Yeah, hell yes.
I just nailed it. A gold medal? Right. Are you joking me? Like that? And
I would just never go to bed again. I'd just be like, man, I'm just going to ride this high till the rest of my life.
Right. That, and you have to realize these guys' point of views where they've been training for this shit for 4, 5, 6 years.
Or probably their whole life.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, obviously high life pursuing it, but we're talking hardcore. My life is not fun.
Right.
All I do is breathe, sleep, eat. This goal I'm trying to reach, and you fucking nailed it.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's some sports. I've heard comics make fun of it, and it's like, you could probably put me in a tube, and I'd probably do pretty well. You put me on put me on a fucking toboggan and shoot me down a rail, like. If I'm faster or slower than another guy, I doubt it was any of my technique. I'm sure, but there's a lot of kegels, I guess. Whatever you fucking do.
Yeah, I mean, leaning to a side. And,
no, I'm sure there's. I hate to simplify that because I'm sure it's like I'd be too scared to go down the fucking thing in the first place.
The biathlon, that's the one I'm scared of. Because I mean, like, you're telling me I'm going in cross country skiing like 4 miles, and then you expect me to sharpshoot, like.
That's Putin's favorite sport. He's like, I don't need the skis. I don't need the gun. I'll speed the bullets.
Fuck targets. Give me bear.
Right? He's right a bear in a battle. It's so crazy seeing pictures of that dude. He's just like...
He's not a real person. I kind of get
like
that vibe where he's kind of just this ridiculous Dr. Strangelove character.
Right? Seriously. He does. He seems like he would... No, it's exactly right. He is just too fucking much of a crazy personality to hear what he's done for he's in the KGB for so long. Excuse me. Sochi me. He's in the KGB. He's posing with bears. He's riding horses shirtless and shit. Like he kissed a baby. He's doing conferences or whatever. There's some huge matter happening, and he's sitting there balancing his pencil. It's just everything he does seems to be you either think he's the coolest motherfucker ever or he's the most evil, dirty motherfucker ever.
Yeah, and half of that comes from everything else seen so perfect. Right. Going on from superhuman real people, we're getting to the real topics.
Okay.
You said you wanted to do this matchup. This is the lifelong question. Batman versus Superman.
Well, they're making the movie, right? That's the news, right? So they're making a movie that I have dreamt about for a very long time. And I think people have always fantasized. I know there's comics that dealt with the issue, and it seems like they either just kind of chill or Batman wins.
Right.
Because Batman, is...
Well, that, and people are rooting for the underdog there. I mean, you've got this character like he made with Superman where, I mean, if you go through the comics, the stuff they've had him do is ridiculous. Like, in the 60s, they have stuff where he sneezes and destroys the galaxy. Like, are you serious? Like,
Yeah.
you're creating something beyond a god. As per the movie, I have hopes for it. I mean, I don't want to see a bad movie. I want it to be a good movie, obviously. But I feel they already went and kind of destroyed what they were trying to do. And what goes and makes it special for people, important where they really care about it, outside of the comic book people who just want to see Batman versus Superman, is like what they did with Avengers. You go and build up these superheroes on your own, or on their own. You go through this really good goddamn Batman trilogy. Like, say what you want about it.
Yeah,
I loved it for the most
No,
part.
I like it too. And the idea is they're gonna break it now. They're gonna have to break
it's
it
not
because
Christian
it's,
Bale.
well, not
because
even,
you're not
even
identifying with him.
Well, it's not even the Christian Bale thing to me. It's the idea that these universes, the Nolan universe, is inherently different from the one that Superman takes place in, because in the Nolan universe there hasn't ever been any superhumans. You know,
Right.
there is no magic there. There is no aliens. There's no, it's like trying to do like, it's like doing like putting Superman in Citizen Kane. Like, it's like, what the like, you can't, you're
Right,
breaking the idea. So, but there definitely is a Batman universe where that stuff does take place, obviously, like Super Friends and stuff. But the one that Nolan created, and the one that people are probably going to expect, is that one, that dark one. They're going to expect, things like the Joker, and, trying to
Did they mention Gotham in Man of Steel? I forget.
I don't think so. I know there was a Wayne, there was a satellite. There's a
Wayne satellite.
there's a Wayne Industry satellite. I don't know. Really, I'm not worried about the cast so much. I think the Eisenberg thing is like, okay. Like,
well,
I
mean,
the
I'm
kid.
gonna give him a chance
Or
on
he's
that,
my age,
because
probably.
how'd you feel when they first said Heath Ledger? I mean, and ultimately it was bad because it cost the dude his life. But as per performance, going into it, I was like, "What are you doing, Heath Ledger? You got William Dafoe. You got this guy, da da da." And I mean,
I saw Brokeback Mountain before I saw that. That was probably the movie I saw before, and I thought he did a really great job. And so I didn't really have any preconceived notions in terms of like his acting ability. My little brother always liked that one, A Knight's Tale or whatever, and he's pretty good in
it's
that.
an entertaining movie.
And like, not really my cup, but I think that I didn't really have that notion. I know a lot of people were like 10 Things I Hate About You or whatever, because he's been in so many like little romantic comedies and stuff like that. But then I also saw, what was it? I'm not
Dogtown.
Tall Town?
No,
What?
Lords of Dogtown.
Lords of Dogtown.
That's where I got my first idea that this dude can act.
Was that the one about the origination of skating and stuff?
Exactly. The skateboard shop owner.
Uh-huh.
And you can't even tell it's Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
I mean,
He got in character like
yeah.
motherfucker. So, and that was, obviously, his demise because the place he was at. But I don't know.
I mean,
I just want
but
to
what
see
I'm
it,
saying
really.
is like my preconceptions of like, oh, this guy can never be Joker. I feel we're doing a lot of the same stuff with Eisenberg. It could flop. It could be good. I mean, because if you look at it, they are setting themselves up just per Eisenberg's look and how they have the look of Superman, where you already have these contradictions that are going to be going. You have this guy with like maybe going with a Luthor that is kind of frail. That's this younger guy, but at the same time where Superman has all his strengths physically, all his strengths are mentally and being able to manipulate and that sort of stuff. So that could have a really nice yin and yang.
And I think so. And I think that Eisenberg, like the kind of, person, he generally plays the same character in his movies.
Yeah.
It seems like he's a really quick talking, really smart dude. And I think that's going to play really well towards the idea of Luthor. The idea of having, what's the guy's name from Breaking Bad and stuff? I forget.
Oh, everyone talking about Cranston.
Yeah.
Like,
See, in Cranston, I always imagine
he's your
Luthor's-
typecast.
What's that?
When you think of Luther, that's what it is. He's your typecast.
Well, I mean,
for
especially because
that.
we've seen him bald. I think that really kind of lends itself to it. But I do, and I guess Luther isn't always bald because Gene Hackman wasn't bald back in the day. I like Spacey's. I thought Spacey. I hated that movie. That last Superman, not the last one, but the one before. I really liked Kevin Spacey as it, and we actually kind of went over this in the podcast I did Sunday, and that was the ep.2. Was like really because he kind of has this glow about him in terms of like his energy and stuff, especially when you watch like House of Cards. You just tell he's thinking, he's a smart guy, and then when he's fucking pissed, it is scary and it's a force, and that's I'm excited. Yeah.
Kevin Spacey does an excellent, intelligent, diabolical.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and also his wrath is pretty good if you've ever watched Swimming with Sharks. Basically, that's Horrible Bosses.
Yeah.
Like, they basically just reprised Kevin Spacey's character from Swimming with Sharks. Also, Devil Wears Prada kind of felt like a female version of Swimming with Sharks.
Okay.
So if you guys haven't seen it, watch it. It's a Kevin Spacey classic. But my biggest worry with the Batman versus Superman thing is, like I was saying, I feel we're missing out on what could have potentially been this great buildup, because now they have to recreate this Batman role a little bit.
Yeah.
One, because you have a new guy going. Say what you want about it being Affleck, whatever, but they have to recreate it. And it would have been so much nicer as it's like, you know who this dude is, you know who he's bringing to the table, you have this comfort with this person playing that character and how that character reacts. Yeah. You know who this dude is, how he brings to the table. Now we're putting them together. That same Avengers vibe that they were able to do. And I feel they totally missed that opportunity now.
Well, yeah, and yeah, it's because DC is playing catch up at this point, because they've had, the Green Lantern movie was pretty shit. And, I think they want to do what Marvel's done. They want to emulate that success they've had in the movie space. And it's something I really want them to do, but one of the things that Marvel's done an excellent job of is keeping the continuity there. It's like when they eventually bring Spider-Man into the Avengers, or get the X-Men in there.
Can they do that? Because I've heard rumors that they can't do that because Sony owns
Spider-Man. It probably is just whether or not Sony can bank off it. I think that Andrew Garfield is in the next Avengers, though, so I'm not sure.
Really?
That's a rumor I heard. I don't, who knows if he's playing Spider-Man, but it'd be cool. It's that thing that Marvel did when they started doing Iron Man's, a little scene at the end, and these little artifacts they leave in the movie, like Captain's shield hanging up somewhere, or like continuing to do that made you anticipate the next movie so much more, almost just to watch the thing and see what happens, but to see that last part, because, like, what are they going to tease next? It's that J.J. Abrams gave a really good talk on TED, about the idea of an unopened box and how amazing that is. And a lot of video games do the same thing. Like, that chest could have the coolest fucking speed boots in the whole game, or it could have,
5 rupees.
Yeah. And so it's like continuing to give me a little box that I got to open by just watching a film will always get me to see that film. Like, I went and I watched Iron Man 1 in theaters. I saw Iron Man 2 in theaters. I saw 3 in theaters. I didn't see Thor in theaters, but I made sure to go see Avengers. It's because I wanted to see these little, like, who are they going to introduce? Like, it's really, for me, just I want to see Spider-Man kick some ass alongside the Hulk and stuff. All my Marvel vs. Capcom dreams, please come true.
Right. No, and the other thing that was really brilliant about how they did it was, in addition to getting you to anticipate it, it was brilliant marketing. Because, for example, I believe it is Iron Man 2, where they go talk to the agent, and then you have that giant crater with the hammer sticking out.
Exactly.
Now,
what's next is Thor.
Yeah, what's next is Thor. I believe they already started a production on it at that point. I'm not sure. But the brilliance of that is we put something at the end of the movie. It's not a big deal. Now, let's say audiences saw that and be like, really? You're bringing Thor into it? This shit's stupid, da-da-da. They can still cut their losses.
Yeah, you can kind of judge the response and see if that's what somebody wants. And no, and that's, it's smart, man.
Yeah, that and getting Joss Whedon on it, like,
oh, yeah.
Dude,
seriously.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Batman versus Superman. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
is it this year or is it next year, right? They just started production, right? So it's gotta be 15.
Summer 2015. I imagine.
Which is really kind of crazy. I remember in I Am Legend, I think it was 2015, is when they had a Batman versus Superman thing, and the logo was actually pretty similar. It was on a billboard. Like,
really?
Will Smith is. I'll look it up. Will Smith is walking down the street, and camera kind of pans, and you see a billboard, and it's the Batman logo containing the Superman logo, or vice versa, and it said 2015.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Now I want to go and see, like, what company brought out.
Right?
There's no way someone was looking that far into the future, though.
It may be, man. They talked about, there's so many things that, remember I was actually watching a video the other day. Steve Jobs talking about the iPhone and the iPad, and the iPad actually began development before. It was like probably 2001 or 2, and he wanted a surface he can type on, like a glass surface he could type on. So he's like, engineers, this is what I want. So they made it, and so iPad was the first thing they were making, and then for some reason or another, it got scaled because they really wanted to revolutionize the phone industry, I suppose. People wanted to.
So iPhone was almost like a beta they were using for the iPad to extent.
Well, iPad was first, and then they actually made and marketed the iPhone, and then they were like, yeah, we're bringing the iPad out.
Right.
It's crazy.
Damn, I had no clue about that.
A lot of movies and a lot of video games sometimes take that long. I mean, Duke Nukem Forever, for instance, but
right.
That was not the same thing so much. But it is really crazy to think about, like if that was a precursor and they did know.
Right. Well, I mean, look at Cameron's films. James Cameron.
Yeah.
On average, his films take 10 years to make.
Yeah, Avatar. He was talking. It was like ideas were floating around, and like small pre-production things were always kind of. Yeah. And that was at 95 or 94 or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then he's just one of those guys who's a mad scientist where it's like, well, to really get this vibe, I'm going to go fucking live in the Amazon for a couple of months and do that. That's why I was kind of laughing. They're like, yeah, well, we're going to come out with Avatar 2 years later. No, you're not.
Right.
Like, this dude doesn't work like that. That's not happening at all.
It was really cool that he does take the time and, like, he cares enough about his films. And presenting, Avatar's story was obviously not the most original.
Dances with Wolves in Space.
Yeah, with a little Pocahontas for good measure, right? And it was I liked the film. I thought it was really, like, the technology behind it is just some of the most amazing. I saw it in 3D and it blew my fucking mind.
No, that was.
And he waited till the technology caught up to his vision, and that movie seeing 2D is less of a movie, I think, because it was so ingrained in his head that it would be that tactile for the user.
Yeah, no, that's one of those movies where I realized 3D was a little bit more than a gimmick.
Right.
The digital 3D, because before it's like, okay, it's coming at me, cool. That movie and Hugo are two movies that I saw in 3D. Hugo's the Scorsese one with Ben Kingsley in it.
It's one I haven't seen that.
Oh no, check it out definitely. And even in 2D, it's going to be fine, but you're still going to be able to see the shots he used and stuff like that, where you could tell these guys stepped out of the box more so than, oh, we'll have the attack coming at the screen. Yeah. No, we're going to use it for framing the shot. So you see the buildings come by, or in the case of Avatar, each vine going through, and you're kind of like you have these moving shots that are following them. So you feel like you're going through the forest. Mm-hmm. The first sign, because I was home for Christmas with my family when Avatar came out, the first sign that I got that this stuff was insane was I'm watching it with my uncle. He bounces out. I'm like, oh. He's got crazy vertigo.
All right.
And the 3D was so real that when they're coming in through the treetops, it had his vertigo acting up. So dude actually had to walk away, take a breather, and kind of get his mind's eye to realize this isn't real. We're good. Get the heart rate down. Let's enjoy the movie.
Yep. And that's testament to how immersive it is.
Yeah.
Never let your uncle use Oculus Rift.
Dude, I am scared of Oculus Rift. I'm terrified.
I cannot wait. I think it's going to be one of those changes, though. It's like going from SD to HD. Going back to SD is really hard now, kind of.
Yeah.
And I think that as soon as they start playing video games with Oculus Rift, the idea of going back to playing it on like just a 2D screen is going to, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle it, man.
Well, that and the thing I'm worried about is something that's so enveloping. That and with the ideas that they have for it, like, doing a sim sort of thing, obviously doing RPGs, I feel it's something that's almost too enveloping for us. I mean, right now we already have legitimate video game addictions.
Yeah.
Like South Korea has put video games as an illegal drug.
Yeah.
They have people who have died of neglect. They've had train spotting situations where people don't feed their baby. The average time daily, this is the average among all their citizens for playing, is somewhere like 12, 13 hours a day.
It can't be that high.
Dude, it's something stupid. Google it. Okay. If I'm wrong, I want this to be said correctly, but it was some mind-boggling number where I was like, this is... I mean, even if it's over 6 as an average, 8 as an average.
If the average of the whole country is over 4 hours a day, I'm very impressed.
Impressed.
Because I mean, that's an impressive number,
Right, like,
Not that
so-
I'm like go South Korea. I mean, actually, I kind of like go South Korea.
But so I mean, if we're having that problems with what we have now, I mean, when you have a completely immersive 3D environment to where you can fool yourself even more to that's the real world, that's when we're gonna get into crazy problems. I mean, and yeah, you could do something as per health where they're already talking about hook it up to a treadmill, tensions for the arms and stuff like that to where you can go fight it. So it kind of keeps your body in shape. But I mean, honestly, when you're talking about that, it sounds like you're already planning for someone to be hooked up onto this thing their whole life.
Well, I don't know about that. I think if like anything, you need moderation, right?
Duh,
And so
yeah.
it'd be very easy for them to implant something to make you motion sick, and so you actually physically have to stop. But then you kind of get in like Clockwork Orange shit, and nobody wants that. I think that when I see it in my head, it's like seeing Prometheus in 3D was an amazing thing for me because I'm a huge fan of the Alien series.
Right.
And there's a new game coming out that takes place after the first Alien, or after Alien and before Aliens, I believe. And it's
Really?
Amanda Ripley, Ripley's daughter, looking for her mom. It takes place on this derelict or the ship, and there's one alien on the ship, and you have no weapons. And
So the whole game's against one alien.
yes,
Cool.
and but it's not verse. It's hiding. It's trying to break line of sight with it, trying to get away from this thing.
Oh, so
and
the
you have
amount
emotions.
of suspense is going to be insane.
Yeah, I'll show you the trailer after the podcast, and maybe I'll put a link in the description. But it's just. I watched the trailer, and it's just so good. It just blows my mind. Like, it's so Ridley Scott in terms of like how the lights pop on. Like,
Was he involved with the production of the game?
I'm sure there had to be a lot of people that have been in development making the game and movie. I don't understand why he wouldn't be, because it is just the Alien has suffered one of those things with like Colonial Marines that came out like 2 years ago. It was like Alien is such a cool property, and when you fuck it up hard because people expect so much out of it.
Right.
And so when you're playing a Marine, you're just blasting really stupid aliens, like they're just dumb. There's like fucking it's just awesome.
Just lambs for the slaughter sort of shit.
Yeah, and it takes out the suspense and what makes Alien cool. Alien's cool because like, what is gonna happen next, and is that gonna kill me? And I don't have any weapons. She does this thing, or they do this amazing, really cool production work on this. She brings up a scanner, and everything looks very 80s, like in terms of
Nice.
technology. It's like a big fucking box, and it's like you see the scan lines going down, and you see this dot and this little blip pops, but because she's actually looking at the scanner, she has to pull it up, and then there's a depth of field, so everything behind the scanner is really blurry. So you look at it and you see this dot, and you don't have, there's no approximation in terms of like where things or walls or anything are around her. You just see this like kind of cone come out and this little red dot, and boop, boop. And it's like it's terrifying, man.
That's beautiful pacing.
And playing that with Oculus Rift would blow my mind. With perfect sound, with like 7.1 and the HD version of the Oculus Rift, I would,
Well, and it's one of those things where it's going to get to the point where your body's going to react like you're in the real situation.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess that's part of my worry about it is I almost feel we're not ready for this.
Well, I don't think.
I mean,
no,
and I'm not just talking about someone playing too much. I mean, and this sounds really asshole-ish, but I'm not cool with the fact that I expect someone's probably gonna have a fucking heart attack playing this.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's gonna go on.
People have heart attacks. People are gonna have heart attacks,
and then you're gonna go into that whole. They did an episode of Futurama on it. You're gonna go to that whole thing because it's like they're already developing porn for Oculus Rift.
Oh yeah, there's actually I saw there's this. Okay, so in Japan they have
people fucking fucking virtual robots and shit.
Well, and what's wrong with that? You're not hurting anybody else. Fuck a robot, or not even a robot. You're just jerking off with a helmet on.
Right.
and that's funny enough for me. I just think it's interesting that. So I watched something or saw something on Reddit, and in Japan there are super pop stars that don't actually exist. Their voices are vocoded, and they do similar to like how Tupac was presented at one of the award
the
show.
holograms.
Yeah, you put a big piece of glass and you project something on it. And so there's a full band behind this being, but it's a CG pop star, and she's singing and dancing, and it's really cool because it's like really quick. It doesn't seem fake. It looks like somebody would almost be wearing a suit.
Well, someone was probably motion captured to do it.
But it looks really. It still looks very anime-ish, but it's cool. The fidelity's fucking amazing, and people loved it. The crowd was packed. I wish I could do a show like that. Shit, man. Like if I could rock people like people rock out in Japan to fake pop stars, like I'd be so happy. Maybe
You're
that's what I need.
badass,
Maybe
but
I need.
you ain't Japanese fake pop star badass, son.
Yeah, right. Seriously, I need. I'm gonna stop rapping. I'm gonna start doing pop, and I'm gonna get this alter ego. It's gonna be awesome. People are gonna love it.
You can have like fire for hair and shit.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Dude, sky's the limit.
I'm gonna have a gun the size of a boat, and I'm gonna sit on top of it.
And it's also a guitar.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're just
your
doing
dreams are
crazy
true in the
licks
virtual
and
world,
then just
man.
shooting it.
Everything happens. You can do whatever you want.
I'm gonna shoot 5 targets in the middle of my guitar solo.
Right.
I don't know. I guess my biggest issue that comes from it is you're setting the table so people are making deeper connections with things that aren't real. And that's something we already have an issue with. But now you're embodying it. You're immersing them in it even more.
Well, and I
mean, like with this Japanese pop star, you know there's an 8-year-old girl who's like, I want to grow up and be like... It's a hologram. Stop it. It's a hologram.
No, I did the same thing when I was 8, though. I want to be
we
Donatello.
Did. True,
like,
we did.
You know? And I think, people are always going to bring that level, like, what are the consequences of this? And it's always a good idea to look at them. But at the same time, the idea that we're going to... Technology only rules your life if you let it. It could be a great tool or it can be a devastating weapon. I think, it's funny that people back in, like, the early 90s were talking about, like, this kid created his high school in Doom. And but that was a very big thing. The idea that the advancements in computer graphics, especially in the last like 5 to 10 years, are amazing. And the next 5 to 10, when the Oculus is maybe is on store shelves and people can accurately recreate scenarios like your workspace and stuff, but that you can go around and blow away your friends. You can take a picture of your boss and upload his face and fucking stab him in the face, and like actually hold a Wiimote and have the goggles on and stab this dude in the face. And with a little bit of force feedback, that's that's crazy to me, right? It's fucking scary, but at the same time,
it's
like
stress relief.
But how many people do that? How many people out of all the people that play video games are making fucking replicas of their home or office and fucking murdering their loved ones or coworkers?
It's always a fringe thing where people go and try and point at the vehicle that someone used to either create their fantasy or as an inspiration. I mean, people used to do it with heavy metal and stuff like that in the 80s, like, oh, fucking Judas Priest told me to kill all these people. And people always point to the vehicle as the issue, when in fact, this vehicle is something enjoyed by other people. But
by millions of other people, but one unhinged individial did something rotten with
it.
And now you're gonna take it away from
and
everybody.
they're gonna connect to it.
It's the same thing.
I totally understand that.
It's the parent idea, like, or in a classroom, right? One kid fucks with the stapler, now nobody gets to use the stapler anymore. It's like, well, fuck, man, I got a staple. Like, I got pages to put together. I want, like, the idea of virtual tourism comes up. The idea of being able to be, with Google Maps continually to improve. Let's say I could put a GoPro on you, right? And I send you a GoPro, or you buy a GoPro or whatever. You're in Japan. I put my Oculus Rift on. I am looking through your eyes, and you're walking down the street.
And you're sightseeing Japan now.
Exactly. I mean, living vicariously. How much would it mean to somebody that was maybe paralyzed? I mean, places that you couldn't go, you couldn't be on the top of Mount Everest.
Or you could also look at it as a tool. For example, they have the setup like, all right, I'll just use something like this. You have a crime scene, right? They have the setup to where they could scan all the information in the crime scene in this whole room, right? The stuff that you're not seeing, and go and 3D model it.
Yeah.
Now, boom, Oculus Rift on. Now this person is going and exploring.
They can get as close to details. And they already have something like, they have a laser technology they can like put in a field or in a parking lot and scan everything. You do need multiple angles to get accurate representations from behind where the laser can't scan. But no, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about what it means for like surgery, what it means for virtual
medical field. It could be
you know.
it could be insane in the medical
But
field.
you see, there's all these, you know, you can YouTube people trying out the Oculus Rift, and a lot of people give them to their grandma or their mom or, you know, it's a coworker, and it's generally the same demonstration where it's you're on a roller coaster, and people freak out, man. The technology's there. It's like a crazy immersive technology. You feel momentum. You feel like you're moving. And as somebody that's always just geeked out, like I have an iPad here and a phone. Like I was watching Star Trek when I was a little kid. I was like, man, that's all I want is I want a fucking iPad, and I have it. And I love it. I use it so much. Like I do so much shit
and
with it.
And soon you'll be getting the Google Glass.
Yeah,
which is another aspect of it. It's cool. Like all this stuff is awesome. Like the first time I see an Oculus Rift in front of me that is available, yes, I'm putting it on.
Right.
But there's that voice that's somewhat hesitant just because
there's other people in the world.
Other
and
people
they're crazy.
in the world, but the human brain has limits.
True.
About what it could take, what it can distinguish, and it kind of trips me out that to some people you might be making something that's better than the real world, although that already exists, but we might be getting to the limits of what we can handle in processing. Like look at it with, look at how. All right, this might be a totally bad analogy. Sorry, man.
Well, let's hear it.
All right, look at how meth totally swept the world, or swept the country. Started up here because the chemicals that are going through your brain, it's something like 3 times what you would get off of cocaine. It's just something to where, as per overload for your brain doesn't stand a chance.
Right.
It's one of the first drugs they ever classified where, you know, technically, and I know plenty of people who had a really bad night. They did it, and God bless them. They imagined to get off it, but it is one of those where theoretically you could one hit be hooked.
Yeah.
You know, just because what it's giving to your brain is so potent. And I'm not saying Oculus Rift is that.
No, but I think it probably is. And I think, you know, this is the idea of free market and capitalism is that this could be really dangerous, and we're gonna find out. There's a lot of people that have Oculus Rifts right now, and I haven't heard anybody ODing or fucking punching their kids.
Honestly, the biggest problem I've heard is people putting it on when they're drunk and insta-puke.
Yeah, probably. I can imagine, right? Don't put me on a fucking roller coaster ever if I'm drunk, but
I'm
especially
just
virtually.
Sit in the quiet forest for a bit.
Yeah,
just be in the quiet
and how cool would that be for like meditation and shit like that?
Okay, cool.
So the possible applications are almost infinite. If we can accurately recreate, you know, maybe even the whole planet with the technology, like there's
Cosmos modeling.
Seriously, you know, being able to fly through the fucking universe in this thing. Can you imagine, man? To be at the helm of a starship and being, you know, or just being an entity amongst and move faster than the speed of light.
And let's take this a step further. Or now you put on your Oculus Rift. Let's say 20 million people put on their Oculus Rift because you heard at this time so-and-so is doing a show on their Oculus Rift.
Right.
And now you're at a goddamn concert in the middle of space.
Right.
With all these people
on the moon, or you know, on the rings of Jupiter or Saturn rather, we can see Tupac again, right?
Right.
Like how wild would that be? And Mozart's playing keys and shit, and like it's just in fucking.
You got John Bonham sitting there smashing on asteroids.
Now who doesn't want that?
You're right.
Is. But it is scary because like I would never take the fucking thing off, right? You give me some diapers, give me a bag of Fritos and shit, I'm chilling. It's scary. It's scary.
Gonna be awesome. We just need to pay attention and be responsible about it.
And you know what the thing is? It is exactly what you said before. People use it as a vehicle. It's not Oculus that's scary. It's people that are scary.
Right.
And that's the fucking point. It's like Oculus is cool. So is a gun. If you use it poorly, then it's gonna fucking suck. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you can kill yourself with a piece of paper if you really want to.
Right.
Yeah.
No, seriously. And you know, it's not to say that. Like games, everything today kind of comes with a fucking warning label, right? Like this music might be offensive. This game might cause epilepsy if you know, or it might give you seizures if you have that in your history. So it's like, hey, don't fuck with this. I think that I don't know. It's a fucking weird prospect. You know, actually, it was funny because I just watched Her, and I thought it was a fantastic movie. But they didn't have any Oculus Rifts, and that was probably the biggest
That was
thing.
the big disappointment for you?
They had, because they had some really cool technology, and the idea of an AI that's complicated enough to fucking fall in love with is pretty crazy. I'm really fond of Siri, but we're not there yet. It's,
You guys got to break the ice a little. Still.
I know. I try to rub her shoulders, but she's got this really nice plastic chassis, and it's hard to get in there.
That, and you guys just met, so she's just giving you that cold front, and you guys will warm up. It'll be a beautiful thing.
I like that you can ask her to call you things. At first, I was like, call me Nobe, and she's like, okay, Nobe, and I was like, oh, that's cute. You're almost like a baby robot. And then I was thinking, like, my girlfriend has her Siri call her Dragon. And it's really funny. She's like, okay, Dragon. Like, I'll give you directions. I don't know.
So until you're plugged into the Oculus Rift and you go and find that the greatest game you've ever played is when
What is it even a game anymore? Like, it almost kind of steps beyond the bounds of, like, traditional definitions. It's more like an experience, or
it has become that.
Yeah.
Look at your favorite games, and all of them are the ones where you feel like you live it a little bit, right?
Right.
Whether first or third person point of view.
Exactly. But the idea that a game to me always means there's an objective, and so if there is no objective and I'm in this world, if I'm in I think the idea that when the graphics good enough, like, and games today are really getting pretty close. When you see the kind of technology that went into a game what was it? L.A. Noire, for instance, by Bondi Bond, or Team Bondi rather.
Yeah, dude, the level of acting.
Yeah,
voice acting and
the facial capturing is amazing, right?
To the point to where you could tell if someone's lying.
Right.
Like, who thought?
They were doing pretty, like, big eyebrows and shit. If they're like,
but they're still at the point where they have to go accentuate it a little bit, you know.
And so, the capturing of facial movement is perfect. It's almost fucking perfect. But the problem was the texturing and stuff. Skin didn't really act like skin, looked like plastic, and the textures were pretty blurry. And that's, the limitations of the technology at the time. And the next, PS4 and Xbox One, I'm not trying to knock them, and even PC at this point, they're getting really powerful, but nothing in 10 years. It's just what we have now is fucking nothing. And in 10 years, the graphics that you're going to be able to get,
because right now it's getting to the point where it's hyper real.
It's getting close to photorealism, and there are people out there striving to make this happen. But when you have, like, real time ray tracing, or even something better, it's gonna blow people away. If I can literally be somewhere else, either imaginary or real, I can understand why it'd be hard to unplug. And that's the scary thing. Is like, I
don't know. I think it's...
But it's really hard for me to stop playing Battlefield too,
Yeah, true. When it comes out and it becomes mainstream, don't know why I'm saying this, because I know it's not going to happen, but I just hope it's something that we treat more like, hey, here's a new product.
Yeah.
Oh
no, there's gonna be the biggest fucking buildup in the world.
Oh,
and
the buildup's gonna be huge.
And it's like, invest in them right now.
All the people who are giving any warning are gonna be the fucking nutsos with signs and bullshit like that, to where it's like, great, no one wants to listen to your message because you're being an idiot.
It's funny. It's gonna be the same people protesting, like, come back to the real world, and they're gonna be looking at their phones the whole fucking time saying it. And so people are always, you'll get a picture from the 20s, and they're like, everybody's got their newspaper out. Nobody's fucking talking to each other. There's literally a train car full of fucking people looking at the newspaper. And there's not enough stimulus coming around, and we have the ability to pass on information by different means beyond verbal. And so, of course, you're going to be, like, gathering more information. Look at the speed that shit gets done, like, nowadays, right? I think the idea of being able to experience things you might not have the means for, or you might not have just the physical ability to experience, giving that to people is a fucking crazy thing. It's going to be up to humans what they develop. It's going to be up to, there might be a guy making a porn fucking rape simulator out there, and if you want that, then fucking buy it, I guess. I'm not gonna, and I'm gonna choose what I buy. I know what I want to play.
Shit out of you for buying it.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, it's like, people that are into weird shit are going to be into weird shit no matter what technology is. They're going to draw in a cave some big titties, or they're going to make a fucking perfect virtual replica with a helmet. And it's not going to change. You were thinking about that shit anyway,
Yeah. It's a person, like we've been saying, it's a person thing, not a vehicle thing. Mm-hmm. That's just how it goes.
Where are we at time-wise, brother?
I think we got. I say we got another 10 minutes.
Okay.
Get going at that.
Okay.
Yeah. Other thing we wanted to get at, if you haven't noticed, is we've kind of been on the video game tip.
I'm
right
a
now.
nerd.
So.
Not a secret.
Yeah. Right. I if so, worst secret ever.
People would be like the first day, yo, you're Bruce Wayne. Like, yo, you're a nerd, dude. I was like, oh, shit, I thought, all right.
Ah, you got me.
Yeah.
Damn.
Luther.
All right. So, I guess we can go into all-time games, favorite games, and I don't know about Nobes, but mine. I will give you this little disclosure right now. This is my personal list. This is the games that when I played, I felt a connection with. They were cool games.
Yeah.
I'm not saying these
They're
are
the
the
best games
objective
ever.
best games ever. If you disagree with it, go fuck yourself. But cool, that's your opinion.
Right.
But if you hear something that you've never heard before, it sounds interesting, check that shit out.
Most definitely.
So what's on your list? Go.
If I had to do, say, my top 3 games, it's probably Zone of the Enders by Hideo Kojima. He's the guy that makes Metal Gears. Zone of the Enders 2, the second runner specifically, is called Anubis in Japan. But it is just one of the coolest games. If you ever liked anime with mechs in it, Transformers or Gundam or anything like that, it brings like the speed and intensity of those to your hands, and I sound like the back of the box. It's amazing, man. The technology. It's one of those games that really proves that art design surpasses the processing power. You know, it's a PS2 game, and they've just actually released a HD collection of Zone of the Enders 1 and 2 on the PS3 and Xbox 360. And they finally got a patch actually to make it run exactly how it was supposed to run on the PS2, but it's just, old tech. The game is just, it's gorgeous, man. The mechanical design is done by my favorite artist, Yoji Shinkawa, and the ability, that console is dated, man. It was like a 300 megahertz processor. It had, the Emotion engine, it was their GPU, but it's an old piece of tech, and it was pretty powerful for its day, but I don't think anybody believed that it could do the things that system did, especially because of that game. The particle effects are amazing, the speed. They were trying to do 60, they're shooting for 60. Generally, it was closer to 30, and would dip as low as like 10 or 15. It would take some huge frame rate hits, but because they were doing hundreds of characters on screen, they were doing massive particle effects. It was this really cool blend between cell shading, which is kind of like, for people that are uninitiated, the cartooning and traditional use of polygon and shaders. It was just fucking amazing. It's one of the most cool, beautiful games. The story's pretty cool. I mean, I actually really like the story. The voice acting is but they have fully animated cutscenes. Like there was a series that actually came out. Actually, enough about Zone of the Enders. It's amazing. I love the game to death.
So wait, with all these people in it, like you weren't having tons of glitch problems and stuff like that?
It would never really glitch. It would never shut down. It was just the frame rate would go down the fucking toilet.
Okay.
And it's just up there, man. It's just one of the coolest games. And so actually, they did a re-release. I think it came out in 2003, and it ended up coming out re-released in 2005, limited for the PS2, and then they just released the HD. Definitely worth a pickup. The first game in the series is okay. Cool ideas, mastered in the second. 2 would probably have to be Halo 1, probably. Just the anticipation for it. I remember watching Macworld 99 when Jobs invited one of the cats from Bungie out on, I think it was Jason Jones, out on stage, and he just showed what was going to be Halo 1. Microsoft ended up buying it and using it as the launch title for the Xbox, which is why people have Xbox Ones in their home today.
Well, it changed the genre.
It did, and people are kind of hesitant to say that because they're like, well, Tribes, they're like, well, Half-Life, and I'm like, man, there's something about the idea of just throwing this disc in, hooking up your TV, and like the single player and the co-op, the couch co-op, is awesome. It's amazing. That's why I have an Xbox One hanging on below my fucking TV over there, and I have 2 controllers in Halo 1 and Halo 2. It's because those games are just fucking fun, man. Sitting with a buddy and fighting, and I really actually, maybe the thing with these games is that I got really in the lore, maybe beyond Zone of the Enders, but Halo and my third favorite, or they're not in any particular order, but the Metal Gear Solid series is just, like, I love these games fucking to death. I read the books. I play all the games. I read as much as I can. My girlfriend brought me the art book. Like, I do. I love them. They're like, because they're, as much as people are into Game of Thrones, as much as they're into these, Breaking Bad, all these series that actually, Game of Thrones with the books and the TV show is similar to how like Halo is for me. Like I play the games and I read the books, and it's because the universe is exciting. I don't think anybody that likes Game of Thrones, like traditional fantasy, ain't really my deal. And I suppose it's not. Like there's dragons in it, so it's traditional fantasy. That's that's not my deal.
It's
got
the HBO edge on it, but yeah, it's based in that world.
But like I'm a huge sci-fi freak, and Metal Gear and Halo really hit it for me. Like the worlds are fleshed out well. Metal Gear can get a little lengthy in time, at times in terms of just how Hideo runs. But
hypothetical question: Halo doesn't exist. Does Xbox make it? Does the first Xbox make it as a console?
No.
Yeah. It's a good goddamn game.
That's
a good game if you're a whole future of a console.
Like, I remember the launch lineup, and I remember, like, being on the bus. I was probably, it was 2001, so I remember in 2000 they were showing it and stuff. I was in the 9th grade or so, and I remember being on the bus and debating my friend. I had, a stack of EGMs up to my head. Like, I loved reading game magazines and stuff. And I remember debating, about what we knew at the time of like the processing power of systems and the games coming out, and Xbox didn't have shit. And then I was like, oh, they got that Halo game, and I used to watch trailers on my shitty fucking internet connection, my 56K out by the Air Force Base. I would sit there and I would rewatch this trailer. I'd wait fucking 10 minutes for this thing to load like 20 seconds of video, and I'd watch it and I'd just lose my mind. Like it was like the world was just immaculately detailed for the time. And then the idea, they had planned to be able to go first and third person for some time. It was originally like third person, and then it was first person, and then the Halo we know and love today. But I remember just seeing like he would turn his the Master Chief over to the right and then look over this water. He was playing on the silent cartographer, or what would later become, and just seeing this ring like erupt out of the horizon, and like you can look up and trace it all the way around, and just
it was an epicness that wasn't really in games yet.
Yeah,
like it was one of the. I'm not gonna say it's the first because I'm sure there's one before it, but it was at that time where video games were making that transition. Final Fantasy series had a lot to do it too, where it's like, oh yeah, a little game, you're playing a little game, to a movie-like experience.
Metal Gear, that's what did it for me too, man. Yeah. In 1998, I got a Japanese demo disc with Metal Gear Solid on it, and it fucking blew my mind. And I just had a conversation about it later. It more than just like was like, oh man, the art's awesome, oh the music's awesome, oh the game's really fun to play. It like I started thinking about gene control, because that's a huge. All the games really have big themes behind them. The first being gene control, the second being meme control, and the third was kind of more about the idea of what the government allows you to know about people and the sacrifices people make. This was the first game I ever cried, was the third Metal Gear Solid. I was really? Like, holy shit. Yeah, you go through this whole game and at the end you kill, spoiler alert, but you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3, eat some shit. You go through the whole game and you have to kill your boss, and she fake defects over the Soviet Union to basically stop a nuclear war happening. And you have to kill her at the end of the game to because America essentially was like, oh, the best warrior ever from our country left and defected, so we're gonna send the second best. We're gonna send, and I don't know, they send him to go kill her, and you have to kill her. You have to actually press the button on the controller to shoot her, and then at the end of the game,
how long did you hold to press that button?
Fucking minute, man. I was like, I don't want it. Like, can I not kill her? And you have to.
And I mean, I think that's. That difference with video games that maybe past generations don't get is that same attachment you get when you watch really good movie. Fuck, let me throw something generic out everyone could go to. Goddamn Shawshank. Everyone's, oh God, at the Shawshank when he's under the water, because you feel it, because you went through that experience watching the movie. Well, that's what it is with video games, except you put like 30 damn hours into this thing.
Yeah, I know. And so the emotional connection
let's go Skyrim. You put 100 goddamn hours into this thing. Right.
Well, you look at all the time I played like all the Metal Gears, like all of them, and replayed them and stuff like that. It's a crazy amount of time. And one of the games that actually did a similar thing at the end of it was I don't really want to spoil it because it's relatively new. But The Last of Us is one of the most amazing games too. It's one of my favorite.
I was gonna ask, is that in your 3, or where would you have
I
it?
mean, if it's Zone of the Enders, Halo, and Metal Gear, Last of Us is right there. The only
Right.
reason I don't have that in the 3 is because it's just a newer property. But I cried 3 times during the game.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Don't go too deep into it.
I
That's on my list of stuff to play.
Okay.
Like, yeah, because that's just one of those games where when it came out, everyone's like, oh, okay, another zombie game. And everyone I've talked to is like, I had an experience.
Yeah. It's different. It's definitely, there's a palpable difference between that and other games.
Yeah. Not the game. One of the games where I kind of had that situation where I was like, nah, this is more than just little video game. Is I'd have to give the edge to the third, BioShock 3. BioShock 3.
You mean Infinite?
Well, BioShock Infinite. My apologies.
Okay,
yes. Okay. But BioShock Infinite, like BioShock, the original has it too. 2, I'm a little so on. It didn't really connect with me as much. Because when I look into a video game, that's what I get into. Is if I'm putting my time into this, what story are you telling me? What you're giving me the chance to immerse me into a world. What quality of world are you going to give me?
Yep.
And BioShock Infinite, you can go and look at the smallest detail into the game, and it works. It's all
there was
like
somebody there making that happen. And
yeah,
it's crazy.
It is so cohesive. Like there are guys whose job is, no, you need to go learn the whole worldview that the Columbia has, and you need to go and almost work like you are the marketer for Columbia of the propaganda, and you're making the posters and you're putting the posters on it, and there is no wasted dialogue in this game. Everything you hear people talk about is something that may be coming up about 20 hours from now,
it's all
maybe
relevant.
5 hours, and it all helps tell the story, and it's beautiful. That and just the concepts they have, they did it in the BioShock, did it also. Just a different vision of it. And I mean, by the time you get to Infinite, they had it perfected. And it's just one of those things where it's just masterpiece. Like you can see the love and the care they put into it.
The art design. I haven't played Infinite yet. And I remember watching an E3 trailer and going, holy shit.
Oh, and the creativity in the game and just how much of US history and study to go into those times to give this accurate portrayal of a more fantastic version of that. So yeah, I will play Last of Us, play BioShock Infinite. It's fantastic.
Do you play Xbox or PlayStation?
What? I'm a 360 guy right now. Yeah, your PS, right?
I got my Apple shit, my Sony over there. You got your Acer and your Windows. And
exactly.
Shit. All right, buddy.
Yo, this is different strokes for different folks, man. That's what it is. I don't know. I got friends who picked up PS4. I might be able to get the PS3 off them, figure some shit out.
Yeah, I think I'm buy my buddies for relatively cheap. So we're using my roommates right now, and
I don't know about going to the Xbox One though, dude. I've been in too many situations where during football season we're watching the Seahawks game, and it's like, oh, you just picked that off. Boom, Xbox shut down.
Right.
No,
no Xbox, no. Just crying on your knees in front of your TV.
Like in the height of the game, not happening. Like I said, creativity, storytelling, ingenuity of how you do the storytelling as opposed to just cutscenes. That's the stuff I'm into. Other games. Have you ever heard of a game called Dark Savior? Dark Savior came out for Sega Saturn. I've not played a game like this. Dark Savior is an RPG. As per a run through the game, not the longest RPG you ever played, probably about 25 hours. Something like that. It's a mix of, going and planning attacks and just regular melee attacks. They mix it like that. Thing about this game, Dark Savior, is you're a bounty hunter. You go figure all this stuff out. But the game you play is all based off what you do in the first 5 minutes. The game starts with you getting off a boat, escaping. If it takes you forever, all right, you're playing this episode. If you just zip through it, you're playing this one. And each time you play it, based off the actions you took at that beginning part of the game, the island you get to, it's a little bit different. Maybe this shop's closed or this shop's open. This person's attitude is different with you because, you know, that ship blew up and, you know, all this oil came to the island, or you saved the ship, or this sort of thing. So they have
Super dope.
They have 6 alternate realities where it can go, and to complete the game, you kind of have to go through each of them. And they all have their own character to them. And so just off of, and especially at the time, this is a Sega Saturn game.
Right.
This was, so we're talking 98,
that game
99.
sounds impressive, but the fact that you had a Sega Saturn is like, goddamn, dog. That's
Oh
cool.
yeah, no, it was underrated, man. That, and I couldn't beat it. They're like, all right, we're coming out at the same time, PlayStation, but you get this. We're gonna give you Virtua Fighter 2, Virtua Cop, and Daytona. I'm like, all right, that's quality. I'll play PS at someone else's house.
Right.
Yeah, outlier. So that Dark Savior, that's another good one. And Eternal Darkness.
Yeah.
Eternal Darkness. This is something I don't know why all these thriller games haven't learned from it.
I'm glad they don't. I'm glad they don't, because
they broke
like,
the fourth wall, and it's amazing.
You know, it was really cool. I think that was really kind of a big homage to Metal Gear Solid 1 when they did that. And it was funny because that same team actually went and did the GameCube remake of Metal Gear Solid 1, Silicon Knights.
Right.
So Metal Gear Solid 1 had the thing where you were fighting Psycho Mantis, and he'd read your memory card. He's like, oh, you like Castlevania. And then you had the Colonel will call you because he's reading your mind. You can't shoot the guy. He's like, oh, you got to put your controller in port 2, Snake. And so you do that, and so now he can't read your mind anymore. And then it was awesome because I remember playing Eternal Darkness and not really knowing a lot about it, and then it like fucking with my volume and shit.
Right.
And
yeah.
I was like
So people who haven't played this game, Eternal Darkness, and he kind of alluded it to, is you're going through. First of all, it's really cool because you end up playing like total like 8 different characters because you're playing through this history that this woman is learning about her family. And while it goes on, you have something called like a insanity meter or something like that, and based off the hits or what ghouls you encounter and stuff like that, it goes up. But they go and they start messing with you. They're not messing with the character. So if you're about halfway through, you're walking by and this normal statue, now it's turning its head at your character. Okay, that's kind of weird. And then when it starts getting high, that's when shit gets really weird. It's not a game, one of those games you don't play in the dark because you're playing and, oh, there's a fucking fly on the screen. You go to swat it. The fly is inside the screen. Yep. It's a graphic that comes up, and now you can't see because there's 20 flies blocking the thing. Or you're in the middle, you're fighting a boss. You didn't pause your game, but your game just paused. Oh, now it's going to delete your file. No. Don't delete the file. Delete. Bam, you're back to the real world. Like this game fucks with you so hard.
And they would do it to you, and it would also do it to your character as well.
So
right? Your
arm
would fall off
game.
And shit like that, and it was cool. It was so. I remember
you
the
didn't
first
know
time
a game could do that.
Yeah, well, after Metal Gear, I had never seen anybody do it, and then after Eternal Darkness, like I thought that was like exactly what I wanted to see from it. I'm glad it doesn't happen all the time because then you maybe start to expect it.
Yeah,
and some games it doesn't
and it
really
would get annoying.
And some games it doesn't really make sense. The only reason why that happened in Metal Gear is because Psycho Mantis was reading your mind or your memory card and your controller input. And Eternal Darkness is all about insanity and what happens because of that.
And ultimately, it gives that in a result where you were getting enveloped in the game because you're relating to this character that's going crazy because you felt like you were about to go crazy when you thought your game was going to get deleted.
They did that. I think they did it in Eternal Darkness too, or as well rather. In Metal Gear, your screen would go black and it would say input or Hideo. Like your console just turned off. And do they do that in Eternal Darkness as well?
I don't know if they did.
I want to say they did Hideo because Hideo's the guy that made Metal Gear, and I know they did it in Metal Gear. It would say either input or sometimes it would say Hideo.
Oh, that's baller.
And it was so fucking cool, man. A lot of people freaked out. And actually, one of the things that game, another one of those break the wall things was you had to call somebody. You had to call Meryl on your codec, which is a little radio communication device, and you're like, well, I don't have her number. And they're like, look on the back of the CD case.
Really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, we're getting long on time, so I'll wrap it up real quick. Obviously, everyone says Zelda's Ocarina of Time. It's brilliant. They did time with that. I think Majora's Mask is heavily underrated. Portal 2, one of the better multiplayer experiences I've ever had. You've really got to think outside of the box on that. And have you ever, like, both of us have had addictions with this game. Have you ever played a fighting game as much as you played any of the Smash games?
Virtua Fighter.
Really? Virtua Fighter that?
Virtua Fighter is close. I mean, it's really close. I've played
my second's Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
See, mine it's Smash and Virtua for me. It's Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. I played that game so much. Every day when I get home, I train, man, with my Akira. My Akira was getting cool. And I would actually have almost every night my two buddies, Joe and Amato, who were brothers, and our other friend Xavier would come over, and my little brother would be there. And we move the couch in front of the TV, and we all sit and pass a controller, man. And we do it for fucking like 5 hours.
No shit.
It was the first time I was ever getting baked. We'd go get stoned down the street, and then we'd come home, and we would just fucking game. And we, these rivalries would happen.
Right.
Like, there's a move.
Like, so-and-so's got this character, so-and-so's got this character. We know how this shit
Xavier
goes down.
would always play Leon, and Leon is the most bitch character. Because he makes the worst noise. He's like, yeah, like when he attacks. Yeah. He's like, you can't defeat me. And he talks like that, and I'm just like, fucking, I hate you, Leon.
I forget, is Leon the little rich kid? Or?
Yeah, he's got the blonde hair, he's got like praying mantis style.
Yeah.
And every time he would, he would grief me so hard with, if you're like laying on the ground, he would do up and punch, and you'll do a move that basically attacks the person. You'll jump in the air generally and come down on the guy and do a little bit of extra damage. They have the chance to roll away, but Leon's was really quick, so he'd do a sweep attack, and that would take maybe, a 12th of your health bar away, and then he'd get that guaranteed fucking extra, like, seemingly 4th of your health bar, and you're like, fucking, you hit me twice. I'm working like on moves that I have to do 1 frame out of 60. I got to release a button, and he's just kicking the shit out of me.
Yeah, and those are the experiences I had with Smash, where it's like, okay, I got this dude. We're playing stock. I got 3 lives to his 1, and oh god damn it, really the hammer, and like someone just goes and clears the whole screen. Yeah, that, and once again, like I said,
you play items.
What?
Get out of here.
No, that is part of the gameplay.
I don't play items.
I don't go heavy with it. When I usually play it, I like to go off hammer or keep that off of stuff to where it's a cheap shot move. But I feel part of the gameplay is, can you go and time that throw? Can you catch that throw when they throw the item? Can you bounce it? It adds different wrinkles to it. There's some, especially in the newer ones, that I feel are unfair.
Like the final smash is kind of doing it. Well, see,
although I've gone and avoided those before.
Oh, no, most definitely you can.
It's something you can do.
I try to, and not to, like, big up or, like, think I'm any better. I like to be, like, a purist when it comes to that in terms of the random element is something I only want it to be a pit versus my inputs versus your inputs in terms of, like, I know exactly what my character can do. I know what yours can. And, like, that's the thing. That's where you test your mettle. It's like just pure input, just character on character. Like my buddy, I have 2 friends that are really good, Brian and Zach, and they're just fucking Samus geniuses. Yeah. And it's all like their timing and stuff is crazy. I mean, nobody ever got to the level where they're wave dashing or shit like that, but they played hardcore, and I don't know. And that's just one of those things. Like after, like I kind of equate it to, like, could you imagine like a sword like just dropping in the arena of Virtua Fighter? Actually, that sounds pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Let's see. I kind of have the same overall goal that you have, where it's like, no, I want it to be who's really better, that sort of thing. But the way I see it is, part of it is dealing with adversity. When random stuff happen, wins it goes, and like not having any excuses. So it's like, I mean, because I feel like there are some characters, if you don't have items, like, if you know what you're doing, you could have a monopoly with Zelda. Zelda's got natural stuff, so it's like, hey, let's
Dave Brady
is
a fucking mastermind.
Let's do it in the thing, like we're going out of the vacuum, But once again, much like PC versus Mac, much like Xbox versus PS4, hey, different people got different stuff. Right. So shit, I think we ran 120 minutes, but I give no fucks. This is
zero fucks given today. Folks.
No, none at all. This has been an awesome conversation. Yep. My name is Sam.
My name is Nobe.
Open mics at Bulls Monday nights. Be there 9 p.m. Also, open mics at Revolver Tuesday nights.
Revolver North. It starts at 10, and MJ's hosting that up there. And
Revolver North on Garland.
And then I'm gonna get a link to a podcast I just did with a couple buddies, and hopefully we're gonna have Sam on there. We're gonna have people from there on here, and just get build a little podcast community going. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And one more thing. Also, a lot of people, I know you've gone and texted me or gotten at me on my messages and stuff like, oh, this, that, and with the podcast. Put it on the comments, man. Let's make this shit a discussion. It's all out there. Cool. Have a good night.
Adios.